Hi, it's Jez here from Nigezza.co.uk. Thank you for joining me today. So I'm going to do a junk journal video. I recently shared these. These were part of a challenge in a junk journal group I'm in. We had to make a snippet roll and some clusters. So I did the snippet roll first. I forgot we had to do clusters, so I did them afterwards. I have never made a snippet roll before. I've seen lots of people make them, and so this was the first time that I made one, and it's for my Edith Holden journal. And so all of the images are from the Edith Holden book, and then there's some of these back-ins are also some of the script in there. I've added some music paper as well, and then I've done bits and bobs of other things. I've put some Stampin' Up stamps on there as well, and there's doilies and there's fabric, yeah, and a bit of sewing. Yeah, really enjoyed making it, and the idea is that you make a long strip, and it's called a snippet roll because you then sort of roll it up, and then you've got it for use as little clusters. They could be little the accents that you put on a tag, and they're just ready. You could even use it as a belly band on a page if you wanted to, or you can just snip them off. That's why they're called snippets, and they would look really good on top of a tag or like a cluster. So I made a cluster, so these could all be cut into clusters, and then these are ready to go in the corner of a page or on a tag. If I just get the two signatures in that I've made so far, so they could be put, the one there with nice leaves there, that could go up in the corner there, and it kind of goes with that booklet that I've put there, and it's a nice nice bit of decoration. It could even be glued down just on a few sides and be a tuck, or if that was a journaling card, then you could stick that on top, and that's the decoration for the top. Makes a really nice journaling card or tag even. Sort of looking through here where I might be able to, so that page is I probably wouldn't add anything to that. There's nothing on that envelope there, so that could go on top there to enhance that. And I could, if I wanted to, I could stick it on there. It's a bit plain there, maybe stick one down there, or you could have it as a topper of a pocket. I quite like the look of that pocket, but that makes it look a little bit better. So, you know, I've got loads that I can play with, and then say here, for instance, I could snip that off and create a belly band there, fasten it top and bottom, and then you can put tags or journaling cards behind. It could even go on the side and be a bit of a pocket. I could attach it to the top of a pocket, or if you were going to put a pocket that way, I'd probably put it that way because that looks up the right way, and that's sort of a nice interesting pocket. So it's a way of a time saver. It's really enjoyable to do. I shared it on the group and people said, oh, you're going to show us how to do it. So here I am, and that's exactly what I'm going to do today, is show you how I made this. So I took a piece of coffee dyed, well, it's tea dyed paper that I've done. Actually, that one's got some really nice staining on. I might go for one that's a little bit plainer. Yeah, I might go for that one because I'm not sure that I like the way that those stripes have turned out. I took my ripping ruler, and this is how I got the start of it. So I just want to rip the edge so that I've got ripped edges on both sides. So rip this down. If you haven't got a ripping ruler, you can use something else, but I just thought it gave it a nice top and bottom edge. And then I left a bit of space there and ripped. I've just sort of eyeballed the size I wanted. So that's one bit of my snippet roll, and then I ripped again on here. So I've got another bit, ripped again, and then I managed to get 4. So then I just want to rip the edge off there. So I got 4 strips. So that was how I did it. So that was the basis, just a piece of tea dyed. Put that in my scraps. So then I just took a bit of glue and I glued them all together. So I've got Tombow here, nice quick drying glue. Glued them down, so that's how I got my nice long strip. And I say I thought they were really handy to have, and it will make, if I'm making some master boards at the moment, and these will be really handy then if I chop them up into tags and journaling cards, then they're all sorted. So then I got this fabric here, and that is what I put down the centre. But before I did that, I stamped on it. So I'm going to get, that's not quite enough. There we go, got a bit more. So this was a full piece. I got it from a charity shop, and I just ripped them into strips, like we used to rip up old sheets for blankets. Right, that strip's a bit better because that's the right size, so I won't need that one. And so I wanted to, you can see like in the gaps, you can see the fabric, but a lot of it is covered up, but it just gives it another sort of layer, and it is peeping through, and it gives it a bit more strength, this this snippet. But I wanted to stamp on it, so I'm going to bring in a scrappy one. So I used some of my favourite Stampin' Up background stamps. For this, I just did this splodge, basically. So Quiet Meadow. I'm going to put it on this one. And I stamped it with some archival ink. So I used the Saddle Brown Stays On. because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I just thought if I put this on, then at the start I wasn't sure if I was going to do any watercolouring or anything on what I was doing. So I thought I'll make it this archival permanent ink, and it kind of looks a little bit rusty, I think. But it does sort of age it quite nicely. Could stamp with other things, could do script on it actually. That might have been quite nice. But that is what I did. I know it's too long, but I'm just going to go to the end anyway, because I can always use it for something else. Bit of fluff on that. It does fray, but that adds to the interest, I think. So that was that. And to stick it on, because I'm going to sew on it, I just used a glue stick to stick it on, to sort of hold it in place whilst I add everything else. So got a cheapo glue stick, works. So just put that down the centre. All the way down. I really enjoyed doing this because you don't have to think too much about it. It can be quite a quick process. Just grab things, stick them down. Oh. Once it had things sort of stuck to it, I then did a bit of distressing on the edge of this paper as well. There we go. So that is that set. So I'll just snip that off the end. So that was the first bit that I did, and then I added some paper doily all the way along. So I took a doily. So what I did was I just ripped the edges around, and it was this centerpiece of the doily that I used for the basis of the cluster. So I didn't waste a thing. So I just took these off. Didn't matter if there was a bit on it. There we go. And I say that is the basis of the clusters. So on the back of the clusters, it's the centre of the doily. So I just ripped bits and got them ready to stuck down, and I kind of left gaps so they could stick down. And it was kind of thinking that each doily section was going to be the bit that was going to get snipped off. Often when I create clusters, I didn't do it on these actually. These don't have a doily on them because it was a doily on the back, but I could have had a doily on the back of these. So I'm just going to do a little section to show you rather than the whole thing. So I just then glued them down. So just dabbing glue on and glued them down. So you can see a bit of the fabric through. I say I am going over with some sewing, so I'm not too bothered about how well they're stuck, because I will be sewing all the way along. So put that down. As I carried on to the end, but I'm not going to show you that, otherwise we'll be here forever, and really you can only see that amount in the screen anyway, so we'll just leave it at that. So then I wanted a bit of a background to it, so I used this square from Textures and Frames. So this is one of the freebies in Stampin' Up's celebration. So you spend £45 and you can choose this for free. And I mainly got it for this splatter. And then when I saw this, I thought, oh, that might make quite nice little frames in journaling. And what I did in the Edith Holden was I stamped over some of the text. So I stamped over these text bits, so you had as you can see on this snippet roll, bits of the Edith Holden text behind, and it made a nice little background for an image. I'm not going to do Edith Holden with this because I've got enough excuse me, for what I want. So I'm just going to do a book and music page. So I've got vintage encyclopedia there, got a vintage dictionary pages, and I've got some vintage music paper. Going to use soft suede, I think, to go around. I think that's what I used before. So I'm just picking just random bits, and I could go like so. So I just keep changing the orientation, and there I quite like that kingfisher, so I might do that one that way to get that. And then I'm going to do some music as well. Folded this over as a possible page. So what have we got? Got some nice busy notes here. I like getting the treble clef. So I'm going like that. They don't all have to go the same way. And then I've got this different sort there as well. That's probably enough. So, and then I just used my ordinary metal ruler just to rip these quite simply, so that I had a bit of a rough edge. Just rip them down. And I just thought they made really nice little sort of backgrounds that could then be stuck on. I thought I did a little bit of inking on them as well, so they looked a little bit older. Even though, which is daft, it actually is an old piece of paper. And then we want to make it look older. As they're all done in the same way, it actually gets done quite quickly, because really only have to think of one way of doing it, and then I'm just repeating it all the way along the snippet. And because you're doing them at the same time, they're kind of toning together. So if this is going into a journal, they'll all complement each other and tone in quite well. So if you're doing a theme, then you know that this will fit it. I do like that kingfisher. So one on the top of each of those doilies. So I stuck those down. So I'm just going to use a bigger bit of glue, use my colour just to stick them down. I say not thinking too much about them. Okay, so there's that. And then I kind of added, I added then each, to the top of each one, an Edith Holden image. And I got these buttons that I put in between as well to sort of fill the gap, which I quite liked. I'm not using Edith Holden this time, and I think instead of buttons I might use some stamps. So these stamps I created, well, I didn't create the stamps, I bought some George V stamps which are out of copyright. So I scanned them all, and individually they're all placed on my computer on here, because you couldn't do that on the scanning bed. They'd all go, they'd all fly around. So I scanned them all individually and then used a program to place them in a sort of a relative straight line, which makes ripping them like this quite easy. I did share these in my group, so if you join my Facebook group, they are there. I've got loads of freebies in different groups. People are very generous, so I did a bit of giving back. So just gonna get these. I'm losing a bit of the lovely stamp edge, but I don't think there's any way around it. So I just think these will make nice little accents. Perfect for a vintage journal, a vintage postage stamp. I actually bought at the weekend, we were away, and I went to Haworth and Hebden Bridge. Wanted to go to the Brontes parsonage, but you had to book. It was like, you know, I know during the height of lockdowns and first relaxations that you had to book everywhere, but I thought didn't necessarily have to anymore. But yeah, we never even gave it a thought, but they were fully booked, so we could go and have a look around the gardens, and we went in the church, but we couldn't see where the Brontes lived, not on the inside, so that was a bit sad. Anyway, went to some charity shops and antique shops whilst we were there, and I bought a packet of mixed stamps, and I've been through it, and gosh, there's hundreds. £3 I paid, which is what I paid for 12 of these, and they're an absolute bargain. So I've got some Queen Victoria penny stamps, loads of them, and I've got Edward VII stamps, I've got some George V stamps, up to modern day stamps, American stamps, very old American stamps as well. So I am really chuffed with what I've got. So I'll be checking out, not all of them are copyright free, but I'm checking them out. I'll get them scanned. So yes, very pleased with them. So I'm gonna get out my soft suede and just go around the edges of these. I do like soft suede, particularly with me Edith Holden, because it matches the print of the script, but I do think it's quite a nice vintage colour. So I do love the whole of the Stampin' Up neutrals. Really good for junk journaling, and I do like Cinnamon Cider. It's very, very similar to Vintage Photo. And the inks blend really well as well. You can watercolour with them. So I was quite pleased that they worked just as well, so I didn't have to go and buy any more inks because I've got loads. I've got every Stampin' Up ink colour. So and then I might do a little bit of this over. I might do some on these, although they look quite aged. I might add a little bit more age in. Liking that. And I like my Very Versailles. I love my script in the Very Versailles. So, oh, I got this. The sleeves on this are just huge, and so I might put a bit of script across. There we go. Quite liking that. I'll get my blending brush and I might just do a little bit on the edges there. So it's getting a little bit more grungier looking, but by using the same inks, it's toning quite nice. Giving me a nice vintage look that I want. There we go. Yep, that's working nicely. So I could have these as the bit in the middle where I had the buttons, but no, actually I'm not. I could have these as the little image that's going to go on the top here. Yep, liking that. So before I did it was Edith Holden, but I'm quite liking that. I want something behind it, so I could use a bit of a dye. I might get my Meadow dies. I've got these leaf dies. These are new-ish to me. Gorgeous Leaves. That's what that, no, they're called Intricate Leaves. Gorgeous Leaves is the stamp set. And I've got these, so I might die cut some of these out to place behind. I think that will look quite nice behind there. looking at these leaves actually, these cut out sort of a skeleton shape. That one's quite big. So I've got this one. And we've got two of these, so we can, that's quicker to cut out. So yeah, maybe those. So I've got that one as well. Chat, these are connected with such I usually put these on there, better, magnetic sheets because they're quite hard to get off. So one there, another one there. I think that one's a bit big, so I'll cut an extra one of those out. I'm actually going to use those, not this one this time. So I'm going to get those cut out. I might cut them out soft suede actually. That will look good. So I've got some scraps of soft suede. I've got my little die cutter because they're little. I can use this one. So little scrap there. Probably not in camera. So you could add anything to these, any images you've got if you use digitals, anything to go with the theme of what you're making. So, but if you're like me and you've got lots and lots of dies, then they're nice to add as well. So I'm going to cut a second one of those out. One of those. So they are, I think they're going to work quite nicely, and just what we need behind the stamp. Another one of them, another one of them. That should be enough. I think that's what I calculated. I've been tidying up. Everything's got a place and they're all close to hand. And things have stayed relatively tidy. So I'm quite chuffed with myself. So I just poke these out. They're not too difficult to get out. They virtually fall out. Right, we can put that one on top just to give it a sort of an added interest. I kind of go with the rule of 3, but sometimes I go more. And it depends what you're counting from. So if you're counting the doily as 1, 2, 3, you've done your 3, but if you're counting the doily as part of the background and then that 1, 2, the leaf is your 3rd thing. That was kind of what I'm thinking. I just felt it needed something. There we have it. That's them all. So they need sticking down. These need putting back. So it is handy that in these sets we get multiples. Does save the die cutting. So I'll put that away in a minute. So we'll just stick these down. Now what I might do before I stick them down is I might stamp over the top. So it does have a stamp set that goes with it, and these lovely textured backgrounds as well. Quite cool. So I might stamp a bit of a texture over the top. Might put this wood texture over the top. That might be interesting. I might do it in early espresso so it's quite dark. Yeah. Yep, liking that. I might stamp that in the background. Oh. So I think that works quite nicely on the back there. Yep. So they need sticking down. Bit of weight to make sure that they're stuck down. So I might put, we've got these little leaves. I do actually quite like the spray. I think I am going to go with that one. I think that'll go down there quite nicely. So let's change my block there. And I am going to go with Mossy Meadow for this, because I think that looked really good in the other one. So just had it coming down in between. It did go a little bit funny on the fabric, but that's okay. Kind of like that. And that could be it. I'm not fully decided. I did like the buttons that I put in it on the other one. But yeah, so then all I did was added the stitching. So you can see how similar that is to this. All I've done is change a few of the elements that I put on. So I'm going to just stitch. I might do a zigzag on this one. This one I did a straight stitch, but I might change it up and do a zigzag on this one. I'm going to cut my snippet there. So that's, I can finish that off. So I'm going to go and stitch that and come back. And there they are, all sewn. So I zigzagged. You can see it better on the back. So I decided to go zigzag. I went up and back, round the ends, and then I went in between each of these. So it's basically, when I snip it, I'm going to snip it in between those two lots of zigzags, and I think they'll make really nice sort of clusters. So they were done really quickly. I mean, obviously I didn't do the full roll. And then for the clusters that I made, I took one of these and I ripped it into 4, so I've got 4 quarters. I took some cheesecloth that had been coffee dyed, so I've got my cheesecloth here, so I just cut some sections of that down. Didn't think too much about it. It only likes really to rip in one direction. There we go. So they're ready, and then some more of those rectangles that I've got. Didn't use them all. So then I'll find the others in a sec. And I think I did have a postage stamp left over here, haven't I? Bit of a postage stamp. I've probably got some die cuts on here. I've got this from a previous project, so I might snip that a bit. Don't need all of that, it's quite large. I could just take these leaves here, and I might put a bit of a doily, which I didn't on the last one. So, oh look, that's an avocado one. It goes quite nice actually with the colour of that stamp. So I think that goes quite nice. And then I just got some words. So these are the words that I printed myself. So do remember. So I just made these in Word, really quite simple. And they're just quite handy to have for this type of thing. And just put sort of remember across, and that's how I built them up. So I'll just do one for you. So a bit of glue stick again to stick that down. I might just distress that a little bit, although it's been tea stained. It's not that dark. What did I do with my blending brush? Oh, I didn't. I put it back. I automatically went. Assuming. I hadn't put it away. I had. So I'll stick a bit of glue stick on there, because I might stitch this. A bit of that. It is very raggedy. Might trim some of them. There we go. And then I can add some Stampin on that. So So gonna change over and use this one. Might put a bit under there. So that's showing through. And we'll get a bit of that around the edges. So I'm not wasting a bit of that doily. And I think I'll just do a bit of stitching on that, just to finish it off. And there we have it, that's the cluster done. So I just put a bit of stitching around there. So that's how I made my snippet roll and clusters that I did for my big challenge over on Junk Journaling for Everyone. So that's them, and that was the snippet roll. Obviously this one had an Edith Holden theme, but you can see how you can change it up depending on what you use. So lots of fun, and they will be time savers then as I'm creating. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. I will have photos over on my blog, nigezza.co.uk. I'll link down below to the Stampin' Up products that I used. And yeah, I'll be with you again next Wednesday with another junk journaling video. And I'll be here with Stamping Up videos on Friday and Sunday. So do join me then. Please like and subscribe. And yeah, have a go.